When I came to the University of Michigan, I came as a naive 18-year-old. When the University of Michigan played the University of Nebraska-Omaha in the CCHA playoffs, and I was a sideline reporter for Wolf TV, it was a great honor for me to be there. I had been a sideline reporter for the previous 3 broadcasts that had been shown over the internet on mgoblue.com, the university's athletic department's website. And I was very proud of myself.
Could you describe sometimes the difficulties of doing the behind-the-scenes stuff and sometimes the problems that would arise?
Well, a lot of times there is an issue that happens behind the scenes that the people who are on air don't necessarily know about, and there's no real effective way to communicate with people on air sometimes because we're talking to cameramen from the control room, and then it's up to them to kind of communicate information to people on air. So sometimes there's a disconnect in knowledge and information. So for example, if a video isn't working and people on air are expecting it to work and it's not working behind the scenes, you have to figure out a way to get that across to them in a way that isn't totally disruptive to the show. So that sometimes is difficult.
Working in television is not as easy as it looks, but the truth is, for me, it became more difficult because of my autism. At the time, I was part of a show called Wolf Overtime. I ran my own segment called Charles in Charge. That was the only big thing that I did at Wolf. I wasn't an editor. I didn't do a whole lot behind the scenes, aside from occasionally stage manage. I mostly just appeared on air. I was an on-air personality. People liked me, or at least that's the impression I got. People liked having me around. I was an eccentric personality. One of the things that wound up happening was I had to arrange for my sideline reports to be known by our main anchors, Chris and Matt, about what was going on before the period started. So what I was going to say in the sideline report sounded very scripted, unfortunately. I was standing on the stairs of a press box when somebody came across during my sideline report, and they were about to cut in front of me, and I told them to duck while I was there. It was pretty amusing, pretty exhilarating, and just very chaotic, and it came off so on camera while I was trying to talk. This is just a microcosm of some of the difficulties I had to deal with.
It was my freshman year, so I didn't really know you or anyone else too well, and it was just a 10-1 game. It was a blowout. It was a good game. It was a good time at the Yost Ice Arena. It was pretty loud, yeah, and yeah, it's hard to keep your thoughts in order at times. I'd certainly say that. It was a pretty good atmosphere at Yost that day.
All right.
Or frustrating, especially in that year.
And what about in subsequent years?
In subsequent years, you learn how to deal with the problems, learn how to manage them, learn that problems are simply just part of life at Wolf because, we're a student TV station. None of us are professionals. And, we got better as we went on.
But we all aspire to be professionals, don't we?
Yeah, I think so. It's a fair statement to make.
One of the things that happened was that on the University of Nebraska-Omaha message boards, there were comments about how they should have put me in as the goalie instead of who they had. The Mavericks wound up using all 3 goalies, and all 3 gave up a combined 10 goals. At the time, I didn't make much of this. I thought it was just criticism and just joking around because they knew they were overmatched by Michigan in that game, and I knew that I was doing a pretty good job on my sideline report.
I remember especially about that game it was broadcast as our games were back then. They were streamed live on mgoblue.com, which is the Michigan Athletics site's official website. So, and we actually could find posts on Nebraska-Omaha message boards about our broadcast, and that was really the first time that we had some confirmation that anyone was even watching the broadcast. So that was really good feeling?
I don't know. That's a good question. I had done live radio before. I hadn't done live TV, so the entire experience was educational. I think this is true for Peter too, but we only helped out with 2 or 3 that freshman year, and that was it. But I definitely those skills that we learned, in that 2 or 3 broadcasts came into handy. I made some tongue-in-cheek comments during the intermission reports, and definitely got some blowback on Facebook for it. But I wasn't aware of this whole incident regarding you really till months and months and months later. I know that there are people at Wolf that were, but I didn't know about whatever blogs making whatever comments and whatnot until well after the fact. At least that was winter, but it wasn't even that spring. I think I learned about it more in the fall, to be honest with you.
And this is about me trying to convey to everybody out there who may have seen that video or is interested in me that I'm not just some kid who says guys a lot. I'm not just some nervous autistic person either. I'm somebody who likes to do television. I have a passion for it, and it's fun. It really was fun for me to do those sideline reports, more than anything. It wasn't easy, and it took a lot for me to do it, but I never had more fun than I did when I was doing Wolf TV when I was in college.